Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the G-Man in the studio at the Matterhorn Studios in beautiful downtown Reno, Nevada. Actually, this isn't downtown Reno. This is over in,
It's just sort of
southwest Reno.
middle area.
Yeah, we're over here with Kel, getting ready for episode number 8. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, we're closing in on our dirty dozen. I like it.
8.
So what's been going on since last time I saw you? Last show we had, you were lamenting about your tech difficulties.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
It's crazy stuff you're going through.
yeah. The idiots fixed my stupid laptop and sent it back to me. I didn't want the damn thing back. I wanted a new one.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like,
They're saving a little money. Yeah.
I can't imagine it cost them less to put the thing. Like, they had to replace almost everything but the motherboard. It had fallen on a tile floor. The screen shattered. They had to replace the Wi-Fi card, the housing. What else? There was something else. And I'm just like,
But you're back online though.
oh yeah. I had a backup. I had a couple of extra backup laptops there, so I was okay.
Good deal there. We got it. That's like a big thing, you know. Just like you're saying, you got to, you lose this, and then they're trying to authenticate things, and they're just like, I don't have my phone, dude.
That sucked. That was so hard. But I finally got the right phone. I got an S24 Ultra. I love it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, heck, yeah. Let's give some people just quick shout outs. Again, the What's the Matter podcast is recorded. Sometimes, well, we're doing it live right now, audio, and we'll of course get the video going here sometime soon. But in the meantime, yeah, we record this in the Matterhorn Studios in the Reno Town Mall, the biggest little city in Reno, Nevada. Been here, Scott, is like, it seems like close to 30 years. Yeah, I think it's like I'm on year number 29, since we moved here. So, but we love that. The mountains and all the beautiful things around us, and it's like every little city, right? It's got negative parts, but
Oh,
I think the good personally outweighs everything. So that being said, stay away, everybody.
Yeah,
this is a terrible place.
Well, and here's the thing: it's not everybody can handle it here. Like people come here and think, oh, it's so beautiful, and this is great. There is a nasty underbelly to this that has never gone away. It never will go away. They can plant as many weeds, flowers over the weeds as they want, but Reno will always have that underbelly to it.
Yeah,
that just some people just cannot handle. And like, I was obsessed with this place before I moved here. I've been trying to get here since '92. It took me till 2012 permanently, but I've been in and around town the whole time. And people would say to me, what is it about Reno? What's your thing with Reno? Like, isn't it just a small Las Vegas? And I would say, no. Here's the thing. No. In Vegas, anything goes. In Reno, everything goes. And you have got to be prepared for any eventuality. I mean, you can see the strangest stuff in this town.
Yeah.
And most of us are just like, Reno, welcome to Reno. We used to have a whole campaign. Like, it would keep Portland weird. We would keep Reno awkward. Yeah. And I loved that. I loved that about this town. And when they started Tesla in us, that whole feel went away.
Yeah. And there are going to still be a lot of warehousing.
I have a problem with that. That's why we've always had that. It's not the warehouses that I have the issue with. It was the hype of the Tesla that never materialized and brought all these people here for nothing. Right. They went to work out there, washed out in 2 weeks, and said, now what?
It's going to be interesting. That's for sure. So, hey, as I was telling you before we got started, I think I did this on purpose. I did not send you an outline of what we're talking about today because I wanted it to be kind of spontaneous and stuff, but I teased you a little bit. So you're not a big, huge sports person,
I'm
right?
Really not. I'm big into the NFL. I like the NHL.
Who's your favorite NFL team?
NFL? Oh, Steelers. You didn't know that? Oh, I guess we might have talked about it. Yeah, Steelers, Eagles, Oakland Raiders, Saints.
Okay, so you got a few.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's always been
But who's your favorite number one?
No question, Steelers.
Steelers. Okay.
My dad worked for USCF for 40 years.
Okay.
I'm from suburban Philly. So I was born a Steel baby, and then being in Philly, Eagles came in number 2, number 2. And then the Raiders, people are like, where'd you get the Raiders? Because it's been like that since I was 5. I think the Steelers play the Raiders once a year in Oakland. And I think I would see the costumes, and I got fascinated. And silver and black were 2 of my favorite colors. And I had a crush on Jim Plunkett.
Really? Yeah. The Native American. Yeah, Jim Plunkett. He was awesome.
So cute.
Won the Heisman back in 1970, I think. You know, that guy was a player. And he was kind of like he didn't really have the body type of an athlete.
He was short. He looked like a wrestler. He was long.
Yeah, it's kind of like dumpy.
Short and stocky.
You know, yeah, but he sure made the best of it. But and then the Saints, how did you do that one?
I lived in Dallas for 18 years and have always had a thing with New Orleans. We used to go to New Orleans once a year, and I have good friends there. And so we'd get most of the Saints games being in Texas, that was within our region. So those were games that would come on, and we always loved watching them. A big Drew Brees fan. I love Sean Payton.
Drew is he's a solid man. He
reminds me of
good guy. No controversy.
Yeah, same thing. Just kind of not Drew Brees.
What's up?
Green Bay, the guy before Rodgers. Forever he was there.
Right here. No, Brett Favre. Oh man, he's got some controversy going on. There's a Netflix thing on it. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. You gave him a shout out right there. It's just like, you just kind of have to talk about seedy, right? He had a little seedy side to him.
Really?
Yeah, you never know.
Interesting.
Interesting. That's what that old Chinese proverb about us having 3 faces. The one that we show in public, the one that we show to our friends, and then the one that's our own true self. Our most true self. So, you have a wide variety of teams though. Mm-hmm. 2 in each conference, I noticed. Yeah. So what do you do? But when the default is when the Steelers are playing the Raiders, you root for the Steelers.
Always.
What would the situation be that the Steelers and the Raiders were playing where you would root for the Raiders?
Not at all now.
What?
I'm done with them. Oh, I hate the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. No longer. So now you're down to 3 teams. Now you're down to 3 teams. Okay. Well, I mean, I like the Raiders and the Niners. I'm weird in that, when I grew up, I would see both of them. Sure. That's my dream Super Bowl. Yeah. Is both of them. And so, but that being said, yeah, the Raiders have had their issues since Papa Davis, passed away, and Mark is not. But we have hope with Tom Brady.
What's going on with Tom Brady?
Well, he's like part owner.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. And I'll bet eventually that he buys them out. I don't know. That's going to be a tough one, man. Could you imagine? That would be tough, for Mark Davis to sell his dad's team.
He wouldn't sell it. He would have to be after he's done.
You think so?
Oh, I mean, the whole reason they're here was because Al Davis liked Vegas, and so Mark moved him here after he died. I'm like, okay, that was dumb.
Yeah,
just because your dead dad. I mean, it was just that whole deal.
This is the first time I've talked sports, any kind of sports with you, because we're really probably not going to talk too much sports like on the show.
Yeah.
I used to do that with Christian, and that was a lot of fun.
We used to have a sports show with what was his name? Rick Parr, who used to manage. Who was the
I know Rick. Yeah, that's a good guy too.
Such a good guy.
Yeah, I like him. And last I heard, he was in New Mexico or something like.
He had gone to El Paso.
El Paso, Texas, huh? Okay, I did not know that.
Their whole sports for the city.
Yeah,
yeah.
But we are going to talk a little bit about sports today, but not in the general sense of, hey, this is going on, this playoffs or whatever. So you knew a little bit about what's been happening, say, especially this last week with Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
So what do you know?
I saw a little bit of the video where she there was some pushing and shoving and little fist. Yeah,
rough
sportsmanlike conduct.
That's the legal phrase for it, but unsportsmanlike conduct. So yes, in the general sense, as I was telling you last, 3 years ago, she kind of came to national prominence in the ladies bracket of the NCAA tournament and got to be known as a heck of a 3-point shooter, scrappy, and she happens to be white.
Mhm.
And so everybody knows that. I think in the NBA, like 80% of the NBA players are black.
Mhm.
I think it's like 65% in the NFL. Of course, you get a mixed bag of cookies now,
Sure.
with baseball, but I don't think I think the numbers for blacks in baseball are down
Yeah.
a little bit
Yes.
over the years. Yeah, there's more Latinos and other countries that have come
Yeah,
into the
Latino.
mix, even including Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
And but Caitlin, she was, of course, a high profile draft pick. And since she's come into the league, let's say that she hasn't come into the women's league with, say, everybody being so accepting of her, right? So it's an interesting dynamic that's been happening. She's definitely reignited. If there was ever an ignition in the past, outside of the WNBA just starting, but she's reignited interest in the WNBA. I've watched a couple of games that she's played, whereas it's just a different game than the men's game, right? It's not played above the rim
Yeah.
and things like that. It's more again, kind of like the origins of basketball, with passing and setting picks and things like that. So, but she like Steph Curry did in the men's game, she's basically asserted herself as the Steph Curry of women's basketball in a very short period of time. Her draw power, her star power has just packed arenas, record-breaking TV ratings and stuff that they were not experiencing before she got there. And so there's, some very aggressive defense that's being played on her. Let's put it that way, subtle forms of hostility for sure. And so, I guess the question that we kind of are going to meander through is, this stuff, is it jealousy, a culture clash, or is it just hardball sports, which I can appreciate a little bit. I think the NFL over the last couple of decades has gotten super, super soft as compared to the football that I grew up
Oh
with.
gosh, yeah.
And so that's what we're going to do today.
A lot softer.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, when you come from, again, in the 60s, say, when there's guys that are playing in the NFL, and in the off season they have a job as a used car salesman or selling insurance or something like that. They weren't making money. They did it for the love of the game. And for sure, before all this money was brought into it and all the fame, they definitely
Before they
played
industrialized it.
they played through pain. It was a gladiator. It was more of a gladiator sport back in the 70s for sure than it is today.
Until
So
the 90s even.
yeah, Tom Brady got his knee hurt, and then they started making rules where you couldn't hit the quarterback. They started making special rules against that. So, but that being said, the double-edged sword that I referred to is that, when you're talking about celebrity, it's a double-edged sword, especially for women, right? Not saying it's right. It's just an observation.
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
So you get out there, you get to be well known and talk about the haters and the naysayers. It seems like they come out in double, for a woman
Of
that
course.
maybe
Of course.
sticks her head above the fray, so to speak. So anyway, so Caitlin Clark stardom, with these physical fouls, the WNBA headlines and stuff like that. But again, the stats, the receipts that they have are like, again, attendance is up, viewership, people are watching on TV. Talk about jersey sales, because these ladies do get, percentages of their jersey sales. And it's just made an overall.
I think that's where everything started to go upside down, is when the players became incentivized outside of the quality of their play.
Mm-hmm.
Endorsements, merch sales,
Right.
appearances,
Well,
speeches, and they're making more money outside the game than they are for playing the game.
Right. And I guess good for them, because check this out, because think of it like this. So the same draft pick in the men's, he's making 12 million a year, and Caitlin Clark, who we're talking about here, she's making like 76 grand, and she's like the star of the league. See, that's what I'm saying. Is like, so you can't,
Wow.
it's hard to begrudge
that
them.
tells you that just tells you the lack of interest.
Well, exactly. Well, and that's the point.
Yeah, they're not.
And
They're not marketing it. They're not.
no, I hate to say it, but it's just not as fast and
It's
as
not as
entertaining a game.
Not. I don't like it.
And so, of course, we have, equality. We talked about, like Title IX, right? The big controversies in California over transgenders competing in women's sports, which again, I'm
Nonsense. I mean, just the fact that there's even a question about it.
right,
Idiocy.
right,
And
absolutely.
people are weak.
Yeah.
People that refuse to stand up and say this is straight up wrong. Not the transgenderism itself. That's fine.
No.
You do you.
Yeah.
Do not try to change your body from being a male into a female and think you're anywhere close to female and you can compete on that and that they can compete with you on that.
Oh, it's just
stupid.
Everybody, well, not everybody, but 80% of the people agree that it's just not fair. When you think about, again, my daughters or granddaughters now competing against a biological male, I would flip out. I would.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no, and I get the part you want to be a part. Sports is what's great about sports and music is because it is universal.
Right.
So, being able to compete, not trying to take that away at all, but compete to somebody that's your biological. That's why Title IX came up, because females were being eliminated from participating in sports. Right. Because as far as like who's going to be bigger, stronger, faster between men and women, duh. And
then what it does is it makes women just say, "Oh, screw that! I'm not even going to try."
Right. Exactly. Yep. So we had them protect. Title IX was great, for years and years. And this isn't even the topic of conversation, really, for today. But since we're there, yeah. As far as that, it's like they're saying, well, it's such a small percentage of the population that we can't get enough people to actually compete. And I'm like, so what? So if there's like 3 in the school, then let them compete. And so, hey, you're all 3 going to place.
I would much rather see a whole new category created.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
for them to just compete against each other.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Not a problem with that. And if there's not enough in the school, then combine schools, and so there's got to be a way, to be able to, just get back to a little bit of common sense. And because this is, again, affecting the women in our country, in our world, the girls that, that work years and years to be able to maybe get that scholarship. And so, but anyway, let's go back to the Caitlin Clark type of thing. So as far as the competitiveness, it's not even a fine line. It seems that this is just outwardly something is happening, not just with the players from all the other teams, but it seems like some of the referees are somewhat complicit in it also. And then the question has been posed that maybe the refs are just following orders from the people that actually
sure, of course,
the owners. Yeah, because if people are talking about this as we are now, then again, that's just good for ratings.
Sure.
And we're not going to hardly be able to wait until the next time that these two teams play each other.
Right. Oh, no question. And no, see, that's the thing that gets me is like, when you can start seeing that this stuff is being induced, and you can start seeing like the refs with the Patriots all those years. I mean, it got so blatant. It wasn't even, you were just like,
you mean them helping the Patriots?
Clearly, and Belichick cheated so much.
Oh yeah, the Spygate.
So much crap. And that was just the stuff.
What about that? If you're not cheating, you're not trying thing.
Right. I mean, it's at this point, we're at a point now where it's so Wild West right now with like, we held the line on morality and trying to be good and trying to be good boys and girls for the longest time. And now everybody's like, screw it. Like you can see like people have just given up in a lot of cases.
You mean as far as like our morality?
Yeah. As far as like, like I can feel a lot of, well, it's all corrupt, so I might as well be too. Kind of like,
if you can't beat them, join them.
Can't beat them, join them, sort of thing. And so like discernment is so key right now with everybody and everything, because, you've got those of us out here like trying to hold the line and just, you know, just whatever, keep as much above board as possible.
Rules aren't important these days as it used to be.
Right.
How do they get watered down? Where you're not like walking this Nazi line all the time.
There's so much of this, speak your own truth kind of thing out there,
right?
Which I agree with to a point, but not when it starts altering everything.
Reality. Well, right. Yeah, like you're
like people are delusional,
right? Yeah. Well, and that's where, again, speaking of this stuff, I guess a way to mesh it would be if somebody identifies with something, that doesn't make it so, right?
Right.
Because I've seen extreme things where people would say, I identify with a cat. And so they've the costumes,
furries, the whole furry
yes. Wow.
It's a freaky thing.
That is, talk about a different kind of club.
And it makes you wonder why these people feel so marginalized.
Right. Well, when did it happen that, like, again, I always hate to say back in the day when I was younger, and if somebody were to be claiming that they were an animal and walking on all fours, they would have been referred to a professional.
To a house. I mean, a professional. To the old nut house.
Yes. So when Reagan did away with all the mental health, now here we are. Carter, yes.
Carter mandated it.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I guess Reagan, because he was actually in an office when it was implemented. Yeah, he kind of gets the brunt of it.
Carter got to wash his hands. But he never gets. He doesn't get. Dinged for that. Everybody gets down on Reagan. He was just a useful idiot.
Yeah, but there's these voids that I think are not being filled because of things like that, and that's where, again, a big part of homelessness comes from, or maybe somebody that actually has influence and power that has some mental deficiencies, and they're actually now in charge of making policy changes.
NPD and ASPD, our institutions are rampant narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder.
Right. And were those diagnosed back in the day when there was more?
They become far more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like, there's a list of, like, for NPD, there's 9 traits.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have 5 of them to be diagnosable. And so it's all of it has been honed. That's why they have different versions of the DSM. They have 4 or 5. They're about to go to the 6. We're on 5 now. And so as we get really pretty much all psychology stems from is observing patterns. It's just patterns, and
as far as narcissists, though, do statistics bear out that there are more male narcissists than female, or have they?
Question.
Right? Have they? It's interesting, right?
Typically, here's the thing:
because
males tend to get pegged as narcissist more because they're typically more malignant or overt.
Right.
Females are typically more covert.
That's what I was going to say, is they would be easier for females to kind of go underneath the radar.
Hard to tell because the way it shows up isn't. They go into victim mode. They suck people into rescuing them and doing their work for them and saving them and feeling sorry for them. Whereas, they put themselves down. So you want to go, oh no, honey, you're okay. There's nothing. And because they're more likely to say, oh, I suck, or I can't do this, or I'm this, or I'm that, to suck you in that way. Overts and malignants it's much clearer to see it.
They're more abrasive out front, in front of your face, more authoritarian. So since we are kind of unsure as far as percentages between the two genders, would narcissism come into play with what we're talking about in the sports arena?
It comes into play everywhere.
As far as
absolutely
brutalizing somebody that doesn't fit in. Because again, back to the percentages of Black athletes, right? So everybody knows that, where life came from originally, how the migration patterns happen and stuff like that. And for them, I have to admit that a lot of the things that we as a white culture enjoy, a lot of times were originated by Black people and their culture, or other parts of the world. It doesn't have to just be Blacks, right? But there's kind of like, I think, an ownership, let's say back in history, and we're going to get into some of this a little bit later, as far as like the history of sports and integrating, say, Blacks into a own all white sport. Now the shoes flipped, right? Because now, when basketball was invented by a white man and it was all white back in the day, then of course Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball. Blacks were introduced into the NBA, where now, after all this time, they're 80% that's in the league, right? So it is their game, even though they didn't invent it, it's their game. Sure. So it's kind of like, that's what I kind of see, and others see, that because it's their game, it's predominantly Black. The same thing in the women's side, where they're saying, hey, white girl, you may be able to shoot 3-pointers, but we're going to show you, what's really up. You're going to have to earn your stripes, and you're not going to like it.
And
right?
I have no problem with that from a skill level, from an athletically.
Oh, it's more than
level.
It's
personal with it. Yeah. That's when it becomes an issue.
You can see it. And I have to say that there were some old guards, that were kind of saying, yeah, we're going to teach this rookie, where her place is.
Right.
But after she went through it, it's almost like a few of them have softened their stance and they're being more accepting of her, but not everybody. And so it's interesting. So kind of like, so we kind of talked about the racial kind of components of it, but let's get into tribalism. Think of Lord of the Flies, right? Tribalism, and how we kind of, again, as a species, it's been part of course, humanness, right? As being tribal, especially, when migrations happen and then there's somebody coming in your camp or whatever. So who the heck are these people? Back in the day when it was, the three parts: survival, food, shelter, and clothing was very, very important on a daily basis, to anybody that walked this earth. So it's deeply rooted, right, in our human.
75% of those diagnosed with NPD are men.
Yeah, see, so I didn't
realize it was that high.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost natural. You know what I mean? If we don't consciously find out about it, which we know that that's not part of our world, or we don't teach about narcissism.
Oh God, no. Narcissism happens, it is created, it's caused, and it's and you can't. There's not a whole lot you can do.
Kind of a victim of your it's genetics and your environment. It's very powerful.
Trauma.
But the tribalism, though, when you're thinking about human psychology, kind of explains why we root for a side. Who's your team? Right? Because it's just fun, kind of side.
So closely with it, like my Steelers.
Yeah, well, and it's fun to won. Vilify. It's funny, right? But it's interesting. It's interesting also. It is, right? Because when I find out somebody's a Cowboy fan, right, it's an opportunity to vilify them.
Of course. I used to wear full regalia. They would play the Eagles once a year when I lived in Texas, and the Eagles would come to Texas Stadium, and I would get my everything, all green, and my jersey, and I would be an asshole. I loved it. It was great because nobody expects this chick to oh man, I was just like we were in Philly.
So it's a fun tribalism.
Right.
But it's still it's interesting because it still has a lot of the characteristics of the generalization of tribalism.
It kind of is an interesting microcosm of it.
Because it does tribalism bleeds over right into gender, culture, so there's no getting away from it.
I think that what that actually, if you really want to get deep about where that stems from, is the fact that we are all fractals of the same source energy. I mean, that the whole "we are one" thing,
right?
People misconstrue that as this hippy dippy, oh, we're all one, we all have to just like the same thing and think the same way. That's not what that means. We're all one simply means that we are each a piece of the one hologram.
Yeah, it's to me like it's energy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like we're different vibrations. We are. I mean, our universe is made up of a transfer of energy of one kind or
That's
another.
it.
And so when we transfer from this form to what the next one is going to be, and whatever we were before. There's so much unknown,
Right.
but I tell you what, every time that I get into a state of mind where those vibrations and those molecules are one, with everything, that's where I think you understand, you can
It's
kind of
within yourself.
understand.
It's coming
Yeah.
into one within yourself is
Yeah.
what oneness means. It's
Mhm.
we all have to get along and we all have to do the same thing. Like I think people have this delusional idea that 8.2 billion people are suddenly going to get all on the same page and we're going to, I mean, it's just, the concepts out there of what's actually happening and what it all means are all over the place.
Yeah, that's the question that I had is like knowing that tribalism is just a part of our species. How are we able to, take that reality? How does it impact our ability, to embrace change?
Right.
I mean, because tribalism is kind of the opposite of change, right?
Tribalism is like the underpinnings of what society becomes.
You almost would need to have a very unique tribe that actually teaches non-tribalism.
Right. Correct.
And then where are they? I've seen, like
It's
that those village people were the village people.
like the rainforest.
Children from a village that I think the story went is they said, okay, so if you win this sort of contest or whatever, then you'll reap, this many trinkets or whatever. And it could have been fruit or something. And then the kids made sure that they all tied, so they all shared. So not one person would be left out, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? And so it's just like, okay, so if one little village can teach that, so how come like all the villages in the world can't teach that?
That's again, it's what goes to what Earth even is. This living laboratory for the universe. And we're basically the beta testers for the universe. They mess with our genetics and see what happens. And okay, that didn't work so well. We're going to let that one work itself out. So it's it speaks to just how how different we really are within the similarity.
And there were people, of course, like when you think about the natives that were here, the indigenous people. And then when the explorers, the Spaniards, conquistadors and stuff started coming over here, it didn't end well for those people that were nice and hospitable.
This is evolution. The tribe that where you said, they share and so nobody gets left out. That's an evolutionary step. It's the next octave that then they were higher, not better than or superior or anything, but they were more advanced,
right?
Consciously, and could look back and say, okay, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, it's almost like having if one of us suffer, all of us suffer, type of thing, which is beautiful. But then on the other side of the spectrum, then you're going to have General Zergo, that says that's just foolish. That doesn't make any sense at all. Right. It's a survival of the fittest, type of thing, and that's just a sign of weakness. So you have these.
I think that just says that, do we stop there and just, oh, okay, that's just the way it is, or do we keep the conversation going? Well, no, I think this. What if we did this? Try this, and that's kind of evolution is basically trial and error, And I think that's the only way we get ahead is by trying something different than what we're already doing.
Yeah, and it's funny, like we're talking about how this tribal stuff does show up in sports fandom, team loyalty, us versus them narratives, and but at the same time, man, and it's sad to say, it also is prevalent in business, tribalism in business. What is your worst experience with tribalism in any kind of business?
I worked I was an IT consultant.
Okay.
On one, worked in all male dominated.
So we're talking back in the 90s,
80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And so the tribalism would happen you know, in the boardrooms, in the meetings, and, you know, the programmers versus the management,
Right.
and it was
yeah, different departments competing with each other.
HR versus, you know,
They have a
IT
bigger
versus,
budget than we do. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, if there's people, there's politics. Politics has nothing to do with government. That's just, you know, it's people. Politics just means people stuff. And so, you know, anytime you get multiple energies all feeding into something, you're going to get different, you know,
Yeah.
thoughts, different points of view.
Yeah. Even from like a hiring standpoint also, right? There's no, you know, they can pass all the laws that they want to as far as like fairness and equity and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't like a particular, you know, type of ethnicity of people, then they can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know, and another thing is, what about with what we do kind of in media? What's been happening the last few years with tribalism in the media? Talk about that.
That's an interesting thing too, because how everything is going more towards podcasts and out of the mainstream control of the big six and moving to more independent platforms and things like that. But even within the podcast community, you have
There's like so many
kinds
different
of
niches.
you know, niches and you know, controversies happening. Like there's this whole thing with Aubrey. What's his last name?
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about with the movie, right? Where it's sexual harassment.
Where he and his wife ended up in a polyamorous situation. And it was a huge, you know, people coming out on either side of it and this and that. And they're saying he's kind of a scumbag. And
Was he like a director? Am I on the right track?
He's a podcaster.
Oh, a podcaster. Oh, fill me in on that. I haven't heard.
Yeah, he's a very popular podcaster. And he has like he and his wife like ended up in this situation with this third person. And you can tell his wife is doing her damnedest to try and work with it and work through it, but like
She didn't like her.
she likes the girl, they're good friends.
Oh,
But
she didn't like the situation.
She's struggling with it.
I would imagine that would happen sometimes where, you know, maybe one partner's talked into something, they want to be open-minded, but really when it, you know, comes down to it, they don't like it. And it's hard for them to then go back and say, well, yeah, I know what I said.
Yeah. And they're married. He and his wife, it's his wife. And when he got with her, it was like a big, you know, oh, you're the one, you know, like he really chose her. So when this happened, you know, that kind of shook her status as you know, as primary.
Right.
You can't help it.
Yeah. How could you not compete? Right.
And then all this, they went to
stuff.
Egypt and all this. I mean, he's deep into the
esoteric. As a triad, or they all
and
three of
these
them
mystical experiences and all this crazy shit happened. And so it's I couldn't sit. I mean, the podcast itself was over 3 hours. I couldn't sit through it. But he just turns me off. I don't like the guy, and having to listen to this and him justifying and her trying to be the cool chick and the bigger.
They're talking about this on the podcast back and forth, like Will Smith and Jada and the red couch or whatever.
They had their mentor there, some guy, some psychiatrist or psychologist that like a friend of Aubrey's that was then helping them through the situation. And that
is just crazy, just putting everything, because that's everything out there, all of it.
And really opened themselves up to a lot of criticism and scrutiny. People were like flaming on them.
Huh. So and then what's the current status?
That's a good question. I haven't I haven't heard anything. Like nothing's popped up in my YouTube feed or anything about it lately. So the algorithm must have shifted on my account. But so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's still even moving. But, you know.
Yeah. And again, I mean that's a different kind of competition with what we're talking about.
Oh, big time. And that introduces so many cans of worms.
You can only imagine, you know.
Oh yeah. And it's almost always the dude. I mean, very rarely do you get a chick that's like, "Hey, I'm going to be polyamorous." I mean,
Yeah.
it happens.
It always
definitely
seems like
happens.
it's a good idea in the beginning,
Right.
right?
And the woman typically wants to be cool, wants her dude to be happy, wants to, but there's so much, unintended consequences and so much unconsidered.
Yeah, almost like I'm going to give him this one off,
Mhm.
so that way, I can show him how much I love him in an unusual
Exactly.
type of way.
Exactly.
But then when he's saying, "Hey, I would like to do this again," then that's where she's just like,
You're
I never intended this to be a lifestyle,
right.
and
Right.
so and you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, especially if you genuinely do not want to lose that other person,
Mhm.
so
Well, it was interesting. The dude I just ditched, his ex-girlfriend was polyamorous. He wasn't. She
mhm.
was.
And he didn't know?
And oh no, no, no. Oh no, it was wide in the open, the whole
Okay.
9 yards. And when he and I first started talking online, he told me about it. And I was thinking, like, oh, okay, interesting situation. He was telling me about like her other boyfriends and stuff like this. And
You're
she's
like, "She can't get mad at me then."
long, no, no, no. They were long over with. She
I was just
like,
teasing.
yeah, she finally caught on to him after 6 years. Took me 6 weeks, took her 6 years.
You should teach a course.
Right. She's a sex therapist, a sex coach now.
Oh my
Sex and
gosh.
relationship coach.
You can't
Fucking
make this
nuts.
stuff
No, you
up.
really can't. And she is now in a perfectly healthy monogamous relationship. And after my experience with him, I thought he was this big, like, sex and all this kinky stuff, and he was this net experience, da da da. I realized she was polyamorous because he was inadequate.
He was terrible.
He was terrible. He couldn't. He couldn't.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure he couldn't
Well,
satisfy
that's
her.
why it only took you 6 weeks.
Right. And so, it dawned on because he was a total MPD mark. It's MPD, ASPD, full thing, every single trait he matches. And I didn't quite realize that at first. And finally I caught on to it. And that's when I realized, like, yeah, he has this inflated, delusional image of himself, and the reality just doesn't match it at all. She has a YouTube channel where she just flames him in several videos. She doesn't, of course, she doesn't mention him by name. She's my ex of 6 years,
Uh-huh.
and just pegs him as a narc, and like all kinds of stuff that I experienced as well. So I was thinking, because the way he talked about her in their relationship didn't match what I was finding.
See, it sounds like a lot of stuff's coming back to bite him.
Oh,
Not in a good
he's
way.
in a homeless shelter in Flagstaff.
Like, not that good way.
Yeah.
So now so whether it's kind of competition on the basketball court or competition in the bedroom,
Boardroom, bedroom,
so
basketball court.
what would you say is when it crosses over from competition to cruelty?
That's a good point. That's a good question. It's going to be situational. You really don't know until you hit that inflection point, and then it's obvious.
Yeah.
But I would say, like with sports, it's when you get physical.
Mhm.
When you start getting physical, when you start like doing dirty plays.
Yeah, like pass the whistle, saying, keep it everything in between the lines.
Right.
Once the whistle blows, you know what I mean, the play's
Right.
over,
Right. That kind of thing.
and there's just stories over the ages, of dirty players and things like that. And I think that's where this kind of again just caught my attention and other people's attentions because it's like everybody loves competition and when everybody's playing within the rules. That's what you want to say. Who's better? Who's going to win? Who's going to score more points? But when it gets to the point to where, let's say, like she's getting tagged, in the eye, the whistle blows, and then boom, another player comes in, shoves her, and then the second player comes and shoves her to the ground. That's where
Cool.
yeah, that's cruelty. And you know what? And they didn't even get thrown out of the game. So that's where saying that the referees are complicit, in this and they're not, enforcing things. So, all we can do is hope that she continues to prevail. Young person, I think she's like 22 or
Oh,
23.
wow.
Man, so just like, I mean, you look at like where we're at, I mean, it's just like such a,
And think
again, that frontal lobe's not even,
22 and 20,
man, I was doing stupid shit.
just, yeah,
Seriously.
yeah.
Yeah. I
And we
was,
didn't even have the stupid shit to get into that they did. I mean, it wasn't nearly I don't think, as risky for us as it
well,
was.
no, because it was easier to get away with stuff because there was cameras, there's no phones. Yeah, you're just
we were
totally
excited by caller
independent.
ID. Oh, we know who's calling.
Right?
You remember when that happened? Or star 69.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
call waiting. I mean, that was our excitement.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Even just, getting it to where it was a punch.
I actually used to like talking on the phone. I can't stand it now.
You used to remember the black books? We used to have a black book.
Yeah.
To be able to have everybody's phone number.
The phone, yeah, your phone index, and then of course you had the phone book.
Yeah.
The yellow pages and the white pages.
Always carry some extra change in case you have
unlisted.
Oh, that's
My
right.
parents were unlisted.
Yeah.
And they paid extra for that, but they wouldn't pay the extra $1 for touch tone. So I had a dial phone the entire time I lived.
That's too funny. That is too funny.
Isn't that hilarious?
But I guess, since we're thinking back in time, let's do that some more.
Okay.
So I mentioned Jackie Robinson, and I've never, of course, there was a movie not too long ago, 1942, that came out about him, but of course he broke the color barrier, and some of the things that I've read, people weren't nice to him.
Mm-mm.
People didn't want this to happen.
I so don't understand that. I don't understand. I've never understood racism. We all bleed red. It's not race or skin color. It's culture. It's behavior.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with your skin color or
yeah,
ethnicity. It's so stupid that people are that base still that they'll judge somebody just because of the color of their skin, because they assume a certain type of mentality or behavior, and it's just stupid.
Yeah. And especially it doesn't make any sense to us now in our contemporary world, although there are a lot of people that are hanging on to those ideals.
I think it turned into an easy victim play.
Right.
Where it still exists because people can quote unquote play the race card. And I'm not picking any particular race. Everybody does, every race can do it.
It's done too much.
Now it's like, anybody with a hangnail can get a handicap sticker or that kind of, like, it gets diluted,
right?
By behavior and by, just more and more.
Just overuse. I mean, if somebody is not getting their way, then the other person is a racist.
Right. It's just an easy,
it takes away from when it's really happening.
Right. There's a really good point. Because it does. It obscures true issues.
Right.
But to me, I don't see it as systemically as, like on a day-to-day basis, like the mass media wants to make it out, or maybe it's different in bigger cities, but I don't see it much here in Reno.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. I mean, again, it's there, but you know what? I just don't hang around with people like that.
I don't
either.
That's just not my.
It wouldn't be long if I recognized that, I'd probably say something.
But I definitely doing it around me.
Wouldn't be having lunch with him and stuff.
No.
But Jackie Robinson, so his first season, 1947, obviously, as we spoke about, filled with, some bigoted hatred, some hatred, and certainly isolation. Like he couldn't stay with his teammates and stuff like that. He had to have his own
segregation. Yes.
Yeah, his own home and stuff. But
yeah, that's when you still had two different drinking fountains.
Yeah. And so you have to think about, kind of like that, the courage that it really took in those moments where he realized, that this isn't just about me. And of course, people, did, let him know too that, hey, I know this is hard, but you're groundbreaking. And this is going to be, helping, a lot of the players in the Negro leagues and stuff like that that couldn't get up there. But looking at the again since his time, and we kind of take things for granted, because it's come, say, from Jackie Robinson, to where now again it's the shoe is flipped in an unusual way, and Caitlin Clark is experiencing some of the things that Jackie Robinson not that's even probably a bad comparison, because I mean,
Similar
she's just
energy,
getting
different.
a small taste
Yeah.
of the discrimination that but now, like Serena Williams, look what she accomplished. Naomi Osaka,
Even Tiger Woods,
Tiger, yeah,
Caucasian.
yeah,
He used to call himself Caucasian.
yeah,
I loved that.
exactly. A little blend there.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, the question that I wonder is that, we're supposed to have evolved, which when you look on paper, there's a mixture of blacks, whites, and all kinds of races in sports now. So Jackie, hey, thumbs up, your penetration into that backwards thinking, still manifests today. But when comparing again the shoe on the other foot, has this progress? Is it real, or is it just cosmetic?
Oh, I think it's real. I think it's real.
Yeah.
I think it's that all that energy is only being kept alive by subversive media, industrialized organizations like Black Lives Matter. I don't think that's real.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I think those organizations were created to stir that crap back up again.
Well,
Because
Black
it's an
Lives,
easy controversy. It's an easy way to keep us distracted and fighting with each other so we don't stop for 5 minutes and go, what the F is going on, and revolt against them.
yeah, and of course, Black Lives Matter, has over time, been shown to have a black eye.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
you know,
truly.
um, I can't help myself on that one. So I
Well,
guess
now we know what's behind it and how it's funded. The truth has come out.
for sure. You remember Billie Jean King?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, or what was Bobby Riggs?
I know the name. I can't picture
So remember, think of the battle of the sexes.
it. Mm-hmm.
So, that was going on, feminine movement.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like early
Early
70s,
70s.
early
And she was gay.
70s. Right, exactly. And so they had this tennis match where Bobby Riggs played Billie Jean King and she beat him.
I'm sure.
So that was like a big thing. And if I remember correctly, she was able to use the full court and he could only use the singles. They made some adjustments, and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And he was older, she was a little bit, kind of in her prime and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
But it was a big thing. That was, back in the Virginia Slims days. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
But what I guess I think about things when we're talking in this context about what kind of weight or burden these representatives, these pioneering figures, what kind of weight does that long term, have on them, not just when they're going through it. What do you think?
That's a really good question. Depends on the outcome. I think it depends on whether they go on to succeed and flourish from what they're doing or they end up in obscurity.
Yeah. I mean, even like with Jackie Robinson, when I think about, 1974, long time ago. So Henry Aaron was in his just right in the heart of him approaching and ultimately breaking Babe Ruth's record.
Right.
Like was in his 500s and stuff. And he was getting like death threats. Can you believe that? Like death threats and all kinds of stuff just because the man's out there playing a sport. What does that say about us as a society?
Right. About humanity. It's like and really it shows you that some of us are wired different.
Mhm.
We're all different. And, I think the point of all of that from a way, galactic 10,000 foot view is it's how we evolve. The duality is what causes us to evolve as we learn, We go back and forth, and red and black and white and blue and this and that and hot and cold and up and down. And, you know, we go to the extremes and realize that it's all about the middle, about balance and harmony,
right,
of flowing with these energies. There is no one anything. There's no ultimate one way, ultimate one direction, ultimate one, religion or spirituality or whatever. And I think we're starting to figure that out now. And there's a lot of confusion because, we used to be pretty sure of what we thought was going on. And now we're like, okay, maybe not. So I think the insecurity that a lot of people feel in not knowing, with that uncertainty is causing a lot of, today's agitation,
right,
and it's good. We need this. And this was planned. This was all, it's all part of it. And, the more we can, more of us can like step into the middle and just sort of kind of view what's going on either side. It helps us determine, instead of just reacting emotionally like, we used to, we got heavily programmed into, knew something happening, every hour. And we go, oh, I think after COVID, everybody sort of has started to go, yeah, maybe that's just not such a big deal. Maybe I don't need to pay attention to that. Maybe, they're starting to, I think that created a breaking point that caused people to start,
not treating everything so serious.
It's such a damn big deal.
Yeah.
Or that we have to react,
right,
with, clutching our pearls or, condemning something or supporting something.
It's easier to embrace now, hey, might as well laugh about it because it's not like any of us would get out of this thing alive.
Or like it's going to stick around. Like stuff used to hang, like, when shit would happen, or like 9/11, we're still suffering from the effects of 9/11. Now, a plane fell out of the sky in India, a week ago. Have you heard anything else about that except the guy survived? It's seat 11A. I mean,
Yeah.
That would have, in the past, that would have kept people, for months. And now we're just, okay, another tragedy. Well, before every single one of us was so traumatized, when some of us were still, getting out of, not suffering so much from.
So Jackie Robinson, 1947. So what do you think? Would he be able to survive in today's kind of social media culture?
Not if he was as he was then, just being kind of dropped in.
Yeah, like time capsule, like time machine. No way, huh?
So.
Yeah, because like from what I learned about him, I mean, he's pretty private, person. And
yeah, I think he was sitting at the finger.
Jackie Robinson's autobiography is called "I Never Had It Made." Intriguing title, huh?
Wow. So he never perceived his own success or his own trajectory as what it really.
Yeah, like you think about like making it to the major leagues when there's, the black, the Negro League and Major League Baseball, and it was just a dream, Satchel Paige and stuff, that, could you imagine, God, how many players they're just better. They were better than the players in the major league, and how frustrating that was for them to like know that, be able to see that and not get a taste of it.
Yeah.
And so maybe what Jackie meant is that when they're saying, "You finally made it, young man, you finally made it." And he's just like, I didn't make anything, not the way that I'm treated and the things that I had to go through, the things my family had to endure. And that's where I'm saying, not to take away anything that's happening to Caitlin Clark, because we're still seeing it and we're still saying that's not right. It still pales in comparison to what Jackie Robinson went through.
No question. No question. I mean,
and others.
Kids today know that what they're getting, like that they've that potential, to be a target is there going into this. Anybody should, by now know that if you're going to do anything public, you're subject to it all.
Right. Well, and not just that, but she's actually gaining more fame, recognition, and money from the physical abuse that she's going through, as bad as it may be.
Right.
You know, she's getting paid and she's getting rewarded in that back end that he never did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As far as,
Kind of like even her enforcer, right? So what happened is like she was getting picked on, and then her teammate Sophie Cunningham, which she's just cute as hell, adorable, but you can't be a creeper. But like black belt when she was like, I think 6 years old in Taekwondo, played on the high school football team, won homecoming queen in a football uniform in high school. And so she's not afraid of any other person on the basketball court. And so she's got Caitlin's back. And the three of them, I can't remember the third. Like I said, there's three white girls and the two black girls. And then the three white girls had some shirts made up, merchandise called Tres Leches, three milks.
Are the three white girls?
And they're just like going off the rack like crazy, so Sophie's like Instagram, she's over like 1 million followers and stuff like that. So they have this residue of success that's coming, even though it's in the face of, this poor sportsmanship. So they're taking full advantage of it. And again, so the question is this something that they're able to take advantage of because of their whiteness? If this was happening to somebody of color, could they be, say, getting picked on the court and then have the same kind of financial windfall as a result of it? I would almost say that's kind of...
It would depend on their reaction.
Whose reaction?
The girls being picked on.
Well,
if they like tried to, chest up and hit back.
Caitlin's not that kind of, she hasn't been that kind of person.
Of course not.
Now Sophie is.
But I'm just saying, like how you're saying, if we flip it to the other side, would it be perceived the same way? And I think it all depends on their attitude.
Right. If you're humble and lovable.
Which is
kind of like what that's kind of like what she said, just
absolutely.
like, what the F?
What,
what's going on here?
What do I do to you?
Yeah. Which has kind of been her play.
And instead of trying to bull your way through it and cover up.
I think if she tried to bull up, she would get hurt.
Absolutely.
She's not that. She's not that person.
It's even in her. She's just not that person.
She's not. She's a basketball player. She's a little, not little, but white girl from Iowa.
I was going to say, I can imagine the community she grew up in. Everybody knows everybody else. Yeah. She has great parents. Still knows her grandparents.
And I think maybe that's where some of the resentment comes from, because a lot of the players, right, they come from the inner cities, and, broken home and stuff like that. And here this, kind of lady of privilege, comes in here. She thinks she's going to take over our game. She's got another thing coming.
Right.
And that's real shit.
That's shit. That's a bunch of crap, because it should every single bit of it should be about your skill.
Right. But that's not the real world, though.
No. I think society is kind of at the point now where everybody has started to has realized, like, that's how it should be. That's how we're told it is. That's how we're taught to be. But that's not how it really is.
Yeah. And not everybody's, because again, you can imagine that some of the girls and guys, that have a little bit of edge to them, they did have that role model, whether it was their single mom, or if they had a hard-edged dad, that said, hey, you know what I mean? You don't take shit from anybody. Right. I don't care if it's your coach or whatever, which is not the right thing to do, right?
No, it's really not.
But somehow some of them make it through with just their physical gifts.
Sure.
And then you sometimes see these attitudes in the field of play. And, even that stuff, if you want to kind of get too self-centered and self-promoting, I'm not going to buy that jersey.
No. And I don't care if it's in sports, if it's in business, if it's in my neighbor, my boyfriend, I like, there's no need for that.
Right.
There is no need for that. Like, we are all on our own journey. There are 8.2 billion different universes all occurring at the same time on this planet. And so we've been kind of conditioned to think that everybody thinks a certain way, or, all humans do this, or all men do this, or, we get into this rash generalization. And then you realize when you're out there humaning one-on-one that wait, maybe that's just not the way it is. And you're at a choice point whether or not you're going to revise your level of knowledge or choose to stay unevolved. I mean, you get a choice point to evolve.
That actually plays into the this kind of an audience question. We have a couple of people that are tuning in, and so thank you guys for doing that.
So we are
simply
platform.
Jackie.
Podbean.
Yeah,
You go to podbean.com.
yeah. Ours is "What's the Matter with the Question Mark" podcast. So that'll help refine that search. Okay. Yep. And then, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And so here's an audience question. You guys can chime in, but we'll answer it here. So, as a society, what do you think? Are we more speaking about the tribalism, right? So, are we more tolerant today, or are we just better at hiding our tribalism?
I think in general, we're more tolerant as we've become more experienced.
Now, why are we more tolerant?
Because we know more. We have access to a lot more information, a lot more knowledge, a lot more expansion of concept of how other people are.
Are we more tolerant because of the potential backlash that we could get from social media or being canceled?
I think that could be part of it, but I think it's more just understanding and acceptance. And, okay, if as long as it's not hurting me, why should I care?
So you're saying that we've evolved a little bit?
I believe.
I like it. Mm-hmm. I like it. Good deal. So, so let's see. So this last segment that I have here, how can fans and citizens shift the culture? And I'm talking about again from being so tribalistic, right?
It's almost like we use sports to let that out. So I don't know how much it's going to change.
How come we give each other shit about a certain sports team, but like if somebody, but we don't do the same in music?
Oh, so yeah, we do.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Not like
we used certainly sports.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like if you were into metal, you couldn't be into rap.
That's true.
Remember?
Yeah.
If you were into country.
What would it say about you though if you liked both? Like if you just said forget what
you were.
Yeah.
You were a loser. You were, it was stupid, really.
Well, wouldn't you you would pick your poison at the right time though, right? If you like both metal and rap, then when you're with your rap friends, you wouldn't be playing metal.
Yeah. A lot of us were as diverse back then. Like if you were metal, everybody hung out with was metal. So if you were, we've expanded our tribes and what constitutes them from back then.
How so?
A little more black and white.
Yeah. I mean, now there are just so many more bands nowadays and styles of music, right? And it was more narrow back then. So if you
we
did like
the choices either.
Right. And so if you liked something that was just totally opposite, then that stood out more.
It stood out more. And plus, like people were so like die hard about like, the Eagles or Boston or you know what I mean? And if you it was like if you didn't like it, you were insulting them somehow. Like if people were real personal about because I was deep in it. I was so deep in music back then. And like
who was your number one band?
The Police.
See, so you were ahead of the curve on that one.
And until I realized Sting was a master narcissist and he turned me off. Yeah, I was obsessed with the Sting and the Police for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. And
did you ever see him in concert?
Many times. I saw Police on the Synchronicity tour at the Vet Stadium in Philadelphia.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Great for you.
That was freaking amazing.
Anytime, and they were three-piece, right?
Three-piece.
Yeah, and anytime there's a three-piece band that just like commands like what they did. Yeah. Right? There's not that many. Triumph.
Yeah.
They did well.
Primus.
Primus? Primus is only 3?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen them. I did not know that.
Yeah, Les Claypool was the bass player.
Primus sucks.
I can't stand him. I've seen him, and he's a cool guy. Les Claypool is very interesting, but I can't stand their music. It's just too weird.
I was told to always say that. If you're ever talking about Primus, you always have.
Oh
to
yeah,
say Primus.
they had shirts that said Primus sucks. That's right. I forgot about that. That's funny. That's really funny. But yeah, like people would get so militant about their bands. Like if you said like the Stones suck or whatever, no, they don't. You know, like people would get like almost fist fighty about their defending their band.
It's true. It's true. And you know what? Back then, though, we would almost there was just a time where you'd almost like try to find a fun reason to get in a fight.
Right. Well, we were so identity heavy back then. Like we identified so much with our pop culture and with our media and with our stuff and with, you know, because it was just
all we had.
And it was expanding. Like
it's kind of our
before had been so much less, you know, like things escalated and accelerated so fast once it hit a certain point of technology and manufacturing that we had access to so much more stuff, you know, more convenience, more tech, more interesting, more this and that. Whereas, you know, up until like the late 70s, maybe, you know, you bought your clothes from Sears, you bought your, you know, tools from Sears, you bought your shoes from Sears, you bought your, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it was just different. We didn't have the variety that we do now, or the choices. Now it's almost too much.
How do, as a matter of fact, so let's talk about that as consumers of sports. How do we, as far as a personal action, let's take the Caitlin Clark. Let's say like her big rival is the person that she played in the college playoffs, Angel Reese, right? And so she is arguably not the best basketball player, at least as a rookie in her first couple years, right? And so she's kind of like riding the wave of what she was able to accomplish in college against far lesser players, right? And so, but she's out on social media, again, like doing these fashion shows, you know, on the way to the game and stuff like that. And so she's struggling so much that, you know, in basketball, if there's a shot that goes up and the ball doesn't go in the basket, then there's a thing called a rebound.
Right.
Okay. And it's a statistic that they keep track of. There's offensive and defensive rebounds. So she, being Angel Reese, is so poor at actually shooting the ball, even close to the basket, that she statistically would miss a shot, not on purpose, but she would miss a shot, get the rebound, and then put the shot back up again. And so her rebound numbers they're arguing overinflated because a large percentage of her rebounds is coming from her missed shots.
Interesting.
Because because when
not good a player,
she's not that good of a player. She's, you know,
is she on the Connecticut team?
No, she's on I think Chicago team. But that's her big, you know, kind of rival. They came into the league at the same time as rookies. And so anyway, it's interesting, I guess. So the question as far as like conscious consumers of sports and being a responsible fan, say, to your team. For example, the only LA team that I've ever liked has been the Lakers.
Okay.
So from the time I was 8 years old, I liked the Lakers. I liked them before actually Cincinnati Reds with Johnny Bench, that probably qualified first, but the only professional team, well, maybe Gretzky when he was the LA Kings, right? Gretzky, yeah. So, you know, LA. So, but LeBron has not impressed me, and, you know, I think he's a big crybaby, flopper, you know, again, just the thing that he did with, again, none of my business, but just from pure commentary, I think that he set his son up for failure by, you know, making him come to the NBA before he was ready, you know, just because he wanted to be the first father-son to play on the same team.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So being a loyal, responsible fan, and then being a conscious consumer at the same time, where you don't want to advocate, again, maybe some of the stuff that's happening to Caitlin Clark. You'd like to see it a little bit more better sportsmanship. So, obscure question, but what would you suggest that we do to kind of stay true to your team and at the same time kind of standing your ground and saying, I'm not going to support this kind of BS? Is it all about is it all about viewership? Do you just tune out? You just don't watch? Yeah.
It's about way to say the strongest, send the strongest message
Mm-hmm.
is to vote with your feet.
Yeah. Just tune it out.
Put your dollars elsewhere.
Okay.
But you're not outlaying those dollars. The advertising revenue that they get is going to go down because the ratings are going to go down. So technically, it affects them in the pocket.
Yeah. So let's go away from we try to stay away from politics. So let's go in a gray area here where, let's say you have some of the large public gatherings. We're not going to call it a mob, but how do you, before joining a mob, whether it's some sort of protest or whether again something happened, to strike or something like that, what can you do, or what should you do to say understand a narrative before you jump on? Because I know I've seen a lot of interviews where somebody's out there, say, protesting, and then they'll ask them the question that basically gets to, what are you protesting about? And they don't know.
Not a clue.
So what's up with that?
What was it? Dave Letterman that would go out on the street, or SNL goes out on the street and just asks, current questions, like, where is Ukraine? Or, and people are so stupid.
Well, they've been doing that for a long time. I mean, they'll go out like on the 4th of July and say, who did we gain our independence from? And there's like college graduates even. And it's just like, wow.
I get some of it being put on the spot, with like basic information like that you can freeze for a minute. But I mean, the fact that like some of these kids that go to there like, no, I don't know.
Yeah, and they don't know how to spell necessary or discipline.
Right.
Those are two. So let's see here. So Cal, empathy and courage. And so how do we support people that are, say, breaking barriers like that? And again, we talked about, for example, some biological male competing in women's sports, which we, of course, intellectually say that's wrong. And so how do we balance that where we want to have empathy with them,
to participate, but to have want to do,
and to have the courage to say this is wrong, and to also have the courage to, because of that empathy, actually do something to help them.
Right.
Is that even possible in this situation?
I think it might be possible if the schools were to create the third category, the non-binary category, where those folks have their, they compete against each other. But trying to pit either hormonally compromised males against men, or gender and against women, there's biologically I don't care. This is not about anyone's sexuality, anyone's gender choice, anyone's anything. This is strictly biology,
right?
Physics,
and fairness in sports,
and fairness, in anything, just fairness in general. But it's, you can't pit, and I don't care how many hormones you give a man, he's still going to have more testosterone than a woman. He's still going to be more muscular. He's still going to have
every day and twice on Sunday.
But I don't understand why this is a controversy. Like,
they're on the wrong side again.
Yeah.
So anything that you feel like you want to add? Any kind of extra?
I think we went real robust with that one.
Yeah.
Got pretty in depth and lots of tangential subjects and topics that all played into it.
Okay. I like it. Anything you're going to want to talk about in the future that you can think of? Kind of any requests? I'd
love to talk about, like, I always want to tell people like what's going on in town, what shows are coming up, stuff like that. And talk about, like these artists and stuff. But that's just kind of my.
You want to do another arts and culture segment? Yeah, maybe we'll have Jamie, come in. They have over at the in Carson City. She's working at the they have a little museum there, an art gallery.
Ooh.
Yeah, so maybe we'll.
Well, that would be cool. I would love to have all our galleries. Get somebody from the Stremmel and get somebody from Reno Museum of Art and talk about like art museums. That would be cool.
Okay, well
But that would be interesting.
let's kick it around a little bit.
Or, maybe half an hour, maybe half one of the
Yeah, a little
2
segment.
Yeah,
I like it.
I love art museums.
I haven't been to the.
Yeah, been to Reno, Nevada.
I've been to it one time, but it's been a while.
Oh, I've never been to Stremmel, but I've been to Reno.
Did you catch that Van Gogh thing that came through?
I wanted to.
My goodness,
because I'm big into Impressionists. Monet is my absolute favorite, and I was crushed because I went to France. I went to Paris right after they had the big floods in 2005, and I or 2000. Was it 2000? No, that was no, that was 2000 or 2001. I had to go to Paris when I worked for ST Microelectronics, and Laurent Givry was closed, and that's the Monet Museum.
yeah.
It's down steps, so it got completely flooded. They hadn't finished the renovations yet.
Hmm.
I was crushed, but I did get to see some of them at the Louvre.
You know, we should do one of these times too. Let's talk about no, well, yeah, that, but let's talk about ancient aliens.
Okay. I just re-upped my Gaia subscription.
Yeah,
I can
that'll be
make your
good.
profile.
Have you read Chariots of the Gods?
No. Is it good?
Oh my gosh, you've got to. That's your like homework assignment. Yeah, Aaron von Dawken.
Okay.
Aaron von Dawken. This thing was written in 1968.
I've heard of it.
It's like an ancient alien Bible. It is like that's where
Does
a
it talk about
paradigm
the origin
shift.
story and stuff?
Yes, so many things that close the gap on the missing link. Explains plausibly explains the virgin birth of Christ, the Immaculate Conception. It totally
Really.
mhm. Just
What does it say?
everything's in there. You're gonna have to read it.
Okay.
I don't want to like let everybody know. They have to read it too. It's real good. So yeah, let's do maybe. I think that's actually good. Do you watch that show on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens?
I don't have TV.
Oh, at all? Wow, good for you. Well, you could. It's like on Discovery, like the Discovery Channel. I mean, you could like. I'm sure you could be able to find it. You got a computer?
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's some intriguing stuff. That's going to be a fun segment, everyone. Been me in here talking about ancient aliens. All right.
I can talk about the witchy all day long.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, heck, man, we coming up in a little bit, half an hour short of 2 hours, but that's all right. This is G-Man with Kel on What's the Matter podcast. We got episode 8 in the bag. So yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and sign off here and put it in the bag. And so anybody that is listening, make sure that you guys find us on Podbean and Facebook. We are on there, What's the Matter podcast, and What's the Matter podcast show on YouTube. Please subscribe, give us all the likes you can. And until next time, this is G-Man for Kel. See ya. Cool. Boom.